Okay, good evening, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll call the first item. Common Clerk.
Your Worship, the first item on the agenda is 1.1, and it's the Duke of Edinburgh Award. And we have tonight Captain Kerry Costain of the 527 Simons RCACS.
Okay, wonderful. Captain Costain, we'll invite you up to the podium, and we'll turn a microphone on for you. There we are. And the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I guess
Yes.
so. Thank you for having us here this evening. My name's Captain Kerry Costain, and I'm the Deputy Commanding Officer of 527 Simons Air Cadets. We're an organization that has youth from age 12 to 18 from St. John and surrounding area. Within that program, we offer the cadets a chance to participate in the Duke of Edinburgh program. And for a little piece about that, the Duke of Edinburgh program was initiated in 1956 by Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and it was to challenge youth age 14 to 25 with self-improvement activities. There are 3 levels. There's a bronze, silver, and gold. This evening, I'm pleased to say we have 6 of our cadets that have completed the bronze level. To do that, they had 4 components. There was a service, community service, a skill, physical fitness, and an adventurous journey, which was 2 days and 1 night. The 6 cadets this evening that you'll see combined have put over 350 hours into all those activities to reach this achievement. So we're pleased to be here this evening to congratulate them and recognize this.
Well, thank you very much. Logistically, council and members of the audience tonight, we're in a little bit tighter space. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out in front of the flags because we believe that's where the sort of the nice space is for pictures as we're awarding the certificates. So if you just join me for a couple of minutes, we're just going to go out into the hall. We're going to make those presentations, and we'll grab some pictures, and then we'll make our way back in. So,
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Members of council, you're welcome.
Yes, welcome to come out if you like, council members. Congratulations. Congratulations on all the hard work. None of these things come easily. In my time as mayor, I proved, in fact, I've sort of very strong military history in my family. My grandfather served, my uncle was the base commander in Ville, with the Air Force. Our new city manager has quite a military history, so we're so proud of your achievement on behalf of the council and all the citizens of St. John. And then lastly, I just want to say that in my 3 years, I get invited to a number of events. At any time that I get to wear there's silver and there's gold too, right? So keep on striving, keep on moving forward, and congratulations to all of your family members. Thank you, families, for the support of getting them there, getting them out early, picking them up when they're tired and wet, and they've got all these adventures. Thank you for that as well. You know, the city, the province, and the nation here are well served by you. Whether you recognize all the lessons yet or not. It's incredible leadership lessons that you're learning. Thank you for all your work and dedication. I'm sure there's nights where you'd rather be probably doing a bunch of other stuff, but we're so glad to do that. Congratulations.
That Seahawks thing now has to be open, so why don't you do it when we add it to the agenda? When we approve the agenda, so I don't even say I'd like to remove that from the agenda because of negotiations. So when we get to item 3, right, we're going to say, I'm going to say add 17.1, safe clean drinking water, and a resolution.
So then I can say, right, I can jump right in.
Push a button and say, I vote.
Remove 17.
Right. And then maybe we vote on them separately if it's contentious.
I'll just say the CBA negotiation.
Yeah. You could say the table.
I want to.
Table it to its place.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. And next item, Counselor.
Your Worship, next item on the agenda is 1.2, and it's an oath of office resolution that we would ask Council to adopt with respect to Councillor Hickey. So the wording of the resolution would be resolved that it be noted in the minutes that Councillor David Hickey was sworn in on May 21st, 2019 by the Common Clerk.
Okay, moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. On the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Okay, well, congratulations to Councillor Hickey. We had a wonderful ceremony earlier today, and very pleased to have the councillor joining us at the table and to have the horseshoe complete. So wonderful. Welcome aboard. Okay, next item, Common Clerk. Oh, not allowed, yeah. To ask you to leave, Councillor Merrithew now? Okay. Yeah, okay, wonderful. Next item.
2.1, Your Worship, minutes of May the 6th.
So moved.
Okay, moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. On the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thank you. Next item.
2.2, Your Worship, minutes of May the 13th.
So moved.
Moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. On the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thank you. Motion is carried. Next item.
Item 3 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We have 2 motions from Committee of the Whole for consideration. The first is 17.1 Safe Clean Drinking Water Project Resolution, and 17.2 Committee of the Whole resolution with respect to the Sea Dogs.
I would move the approval of the agenda with the exception of 17.2, which I would table. The Sea Dog issue I would table because they're still in negotiations. Maybe I
Okay.
can't do it in one motion. But
So just to help me procedurally, Common Clerk, do we just have to address that issue when we
Do
get
them
to it?
separately, or, so is it to approve the agenda?
Well, that could be the.
Or
I
to
can't-
approve item 17.1 and then to table?
And to table 17.2.
Okay.
So my motion is
Okay.
is to approve the agenda.
Agenda.
Including 17.1, but to table 17.2.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seconded by, okay, thank you. Okay, on the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any, thank you. Next item?
Item 4, disclosures of conflict of interest.
Okay, trying to make eye contact. I don't see no one wants to make eye contact. Okay, good. Everyone's good? Okay, thank you. No conflicts declared. Thank you. Next item? Oh, excuse me.
Well, there's
sorry.
the safe, clean drinking water. I
Yep,
believe there are
excuse me,
2.
city solicitor? Yep. I
I'm hiding
apologize.
over here now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I declare my conflict with respect to that matter when
Okay.
it's up for discussion.
Okay,
I'll
thank,
excuse myself.
thank you, Solicitor.
17-1, Your Worship?
Okay.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, that's what, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
The same for me, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. So we have three
Three,
declared for
okay.
that item. Thank you. I apologize, City Solicitor. I was looking to the left over here, so, okay, thank you. And Deputy Mayor, did you have your light for the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I'll move 5.1 to 5.13 inclusive.
Second.
Okay, moved by the deputy and seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you, but we have a few questions. Councillor Reardon.
5.1, I did send Holly Young an email today, and she clarified some of it, but I'm just curious about changing from a cash deposit to a letter of credit. Is there any impact to us? No? All good? Okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry, Councillor, so the impact is there's no impact? Sorry,
5.11. Sorry. Oh, did I say 5.1? 5.11, sorry.
okay, Commissioner
Uh,
Greenwald.
confusing.
Through you, Your Worship, no, there's really no impact. It used to be an irrevocable standby letter of credit. This is almost better for us in some instances, so it was at their request, so we don't have any issues with it.
I just noticed it was going from cash, right, to credit, to a letter? Is that what's
No,
happening?
Sorry, it went the other way. They are requesting to provide the security in the form of cash instead.
Okay. Oh, okay, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Commissioner. Councillor Sullivan, do you have a question?
Thank you, Worship. I do have a question on 513. Just curious, I guess, I'm used to reading tenders where we see a list of tender bids and usually accept the lowest acceptable tender, lowest tender that meets the standard. This process was a little different. Just, I guess, looking for a little more explanation in the difference in processes.
Okay, thank you. Can you just hit the button for me, please, Mr. Fogan? Thank you. There you go.
Through your worship to the council, yes, this was a little different process. It isn't unheard of that we do this for fire trucks specifically or very complicated pieces of equipment. With the RFP, the way it's worded, it allows for consideration to the best value that we may derive. So there may be, for example, we've bought before demo fire trucks that may not be 100% compliant with our specs, but with the bid or with the price consideration, sometimes it will do. So we really try to drive the best value overall. So it's a combination of price and what the equipment is delivering.
So I guess, and I do appreciate that. I guess the level of detail that goes into the report then, for me to, I guess when I see the other tenders, I know, okay, it met the standard and here's the price and we took the lowest or for a reason we didn't. This one is kind of, a committee decided this was going to be the best, please approve it.
Right. So
So if you could help.
Sure, in part, sure, I can refer to the city manager, but our process here on this is, like every RFP, they're blind scores. We have a committee broad-based across different service areas. Each individual person scores it blindly, and then those are conglomerated, and then we score the price afterwards, and so the best score overall wins. But it's a blind process.
City Manager, you want to jump in? Sir?
Your Worship, to the councillor, we need to be careful. There is a difference between the tendering process and RFPs, in that if it just goes out to tender, broadly speaking, the lowest compliant bid gets it. When we talk about RFPs and requests for proposals, at that point there are other decision criteria, including quality of work, quality of the deliverer, unique specifications, etc. So in this case, it was not a tender process per se, it was an RFP. So those additional criteria were evaluated by the team, and we have often come to council with an RFP saying the team met and chose. Most times, they choose the lowest bid. In this particular case, because of the other weighted criteria, the lowest bid did not receive the nomination.
And the only other piece would be, and I certainly understand that, so the other part goes when I look at the financial compared to budget, it says it's part of the fleet replacement in the budget. Was it at around close to what we expected to pay for this piece of equipment? The budget for this piece of equipment, how did that compare?
Yeah, through your worship, yeah, it was. It was in the neighborhood. Actually, with this piece of equipment, we specifically did align exactly with what we were looking for. So it was the best value overall and did align with our budget, yes.
Oh, okay. That I need to know. Thank you.
Can I just pile on one question on that item, Mr. Fogan? So the piece of equipment that this is replacing, I believe I read was from 2000. Anyway, yeah, 2000 Spartan pumper. So we will retire that piece of gear?
Yeah, we will, your worship, but I can defer this one to the police chief, or sorry, fire chief. Unless the police chief wants to answer that one too, but I assume it's the fire chief who will.
Let me just find you on the list here, Chief. Yep, there we go.
Thank you, Your Worship. What will happen is that piece of equipment will be assessed against our other reserve equipment, and the least valuable piece of equipment will be retired.
Okay, and when retired, we would try to monetize in some
Oh, yeah,
fashion, go to
absolutely. It
auction.
would go to
Yeah,
auction
okay.
and get some
Perfect.
value for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Casey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to comment on 5-8. You don't have to pull it or anything, the Rainbow Park Playground. I'm still not 100% for this, but as we said earlier, that a tender, the lowest bid wins, so I may as well vote for it. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. On the consent agenda then, on the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any, thank you. The motion is carried. Common Clerk, next item.
Item 6, members' comments.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Worship. Just wanted to bring to people's attention that HDC, Human Development Council, came out with the 2018 progress report on homelessness in St. John. And I just have a couple of highlights for you. St. John has seen a consistent annual increase in the number of people using emergency shelters, with a total of 417 people in 2018. Emergency shelters had a combined occupancy rate of 107%. We've had 28 nights on average for people spending in homeless shelters. 28 nights, that's a month. And we had 1,155 public housing units used. It's a decrease of 4 from 2017. But we've had 1,038 rent supplements in 2018, which is an increase of 15 supplements over 2017. 1,796. That's the number of people waiting on a list for affordable housing in the St. John region. It's an increase of 228 people over 2017. And the last one I'll tell you about is a point-in-time count. It was 113 people experiencing homelessness that were surveyed. 25% of them identified as Indigenous. 27% were youth aged 16 to 24. And 48% were in need of access to mental health counseling. And you can view the whole report on the HCC website, but I urge you to take a look at this. I think homelessness in St. John and indeed New Brunswick is something that people need to continue to look at, and I'm very thankful that the media brought it in such a great light in 2018. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, wearing both my hats as councillor and police commission member, I'd like to welcome Sergeant Sean Rocca, who is representing Chief Connell tonight. Sergeant Rocca, then Constable Rocca, was one of the first community police officers we had before there was community policing back in the North End days. So welcome to Staff Sergeant Rocca. I am sure the ward councillors will talk more of it, but from my point of view, I want to thank Councillors Merrithew, Strobridge, and Norton for inviting me out and showing their leadership in neighborhood cleanups. Certainly, I appreciated spending some time with Councillor Norton and over on the west side on a beach, and then in the park over in Glen Falls. And thanks to them for their leadership in helping to bring communities together. An update, I guess 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that the Cherrybrook Zoo is having a name contest with regards to their baby wallaby. And baby wallaby is named Willoughby, Willa for short. So now there are 4 wallabies. They say that wallabies, as cute as we think they are the Australian version of our deer. And so with the babies that they're having out there, that makes a lot of sense. Also, summer camps, if you're looking for your kids to do something this summer, it's a great spot to spend the summer. If you're a kid, you can hang out with Willow the Wallaby and Rue, whose picture sits on my fridge. If you're looking for a job, if you're an older student and you happen to have a seed grant in your hand, they're looking to hire a couple of counselors, please see them at the zoo. And overall, thank you very much for supporting your Cherrybrook Zoo.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Casey.
Thank you, Worship. I took my daughter up to Moncton on the weekend for the East Coast Comic Expo. It's obviously about comic books and anime and Marvel and DC and all those things. Great little family event. A lot of costumes. I saw our friendly neighborhood Iron Man, not Spider-Man. Actually, Spider-Man was there too, but so a lot of great costumes. Great little family event. Lots of events coming up. So search on Discover St. John and Tourism New Brunswick and all those sites. All kinds of little events like this and bigger events. Starting up for the summer and through to the fall. So get out there and a lot of good family stuff. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Strobridge.
Thank you. I just wanted to recognize and thank the corporate sponsors. Councillor Sullivan mentioned it in his comments about the Glen Falls Community Spring Cleanup and Barbecue that Councillor Merrithew and I held for the people of Glen Falls. It was Saturday, May 11th. It was made possible through corporate sponsorship. I'd like to thank them. It was Bird, the construction company, the Exhibition Association, Ritchie's Building and Flooring Center, Debley Enterprises, the City of St. John, Little John's Variety, and the St. John Fire Department who brought a barbecue and did all of the cooking for us. Councillor Sullivan was able to attend. You were there, Your Worship. We had Greg Cutler from Parks and Recreation, as well as a couple of summer students that were there with him. They helped as well. So I just want to say thank you to the sponsors who made it happen, and thank you to the citizens of Glen Falls who participated, because if you weren't there, there would have been no point. And finally, we have another one that we're putting together, which is for Redhead. So we try to do these every summer. Last summer we were in Lakewood Heights. So this summer we just finished up Glen Falls. Now we're moving on to Redhead, and the Redhead Spring Cleanup as well, community barbecue. That's going to be Saturday, June the 1st. That's going to be at the playground on Ocean Drive in the subdivision. That one's being sponsored by Canaport LNG, as well as our St. John Fire Department will be coming and barbecuing like they did in Glen Falls. And of course, City of St. John, they've come behind us and collect all the garbage and dispose of it later. So again, thank you to my corporate sponsors, and for those of you who live in Redhead, Saturday, June 1st, we'll be in your neighborhood, and you can reach out to Dave or I, and we'll give you more details if you want them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Well, thank you. Well, this is a good news story, especially for women. We often talk about skilled tradespeople in our communities and that we don't have enough, especially if there's a lot of work in a different part of the country and people move out. So the province of New Brunswick, under a program called New Boots, and New Brunswick Community College, and in this case the employer is JDI, JD Irving Limited. They've put together a program working together, and there's 10 women that they have selected This one is a little different with JDI because they've selected 10 women, and these 10 women are going to become apprentice into whatever trade they wish to take up, and they're going to be employed eventually by JDI, and all their expenses will be paid by JDI. So they will be they're starting right now at the New Brunswick Community College in St. John, and they're going to select what trade they want to do, and then for the next 4 years they'll be doing their education at the community college, and then they'll be going into the workplace at JDI for a certain length of time, and then they'll go back, more education, go back and do, and then at the end of 4 years they will have the trade. And so this will open the door, I think, for a lot of women, a lot of young women that want to get into a trade. So any employer can get involved in this. They can contact the provincial government, get involved in the program, New Boots, and, you know, hire women. It's for women only, to get women into the trades and to give them that skill. So the women from all walks of life, I mean, they're going to be making good salaries. It was a wonderful ceremony to just see the young women that, you know, not all young maybe, but, you know, just to see them getting into the different trades, and they're going to pick whatever trade they wish within the next week. And I think it's a wonderful program, and more people get in it. So we won't have a shortage of skilled tradespeople. We should have many more coming on. So just wanted to give them that plug, and I think J.D. Irving was doing a great job to get this started.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Worship. Today at noon, David Hickey was sworn in as our latest councillor, so I want to welcome him to his first meeting this evening. And Ward 3 is an interesting ward. It's the smallest ward. I think we're about 13 and a half square kilometers. We're divided in wards based on population, so we all have around 17,000 constituents, and we have 3 of the 5 priority neighborhoods are in Ward 3. And you also have our population grows every day, the weekday between 9 and 5, because we know about 18,000 people come into the city, and a significant portion of them come into work in Ward 3. There's a lot of commercial in Ward 3, so it's a dynamic, interesting ward. Every ward is in its own way, and I know you're going to enjoy it, so welcome aboard.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norton.
Your Worship, urban development incentives are now up on the city's webpage, so whether it's beautification or whether it's property owners invested in applying for urban development incentives, those are available. There's no time to get to spring cleaning and beautification projects and now, so take advantage of those incentives that are available through your one-stop development shop and the urban development incentives that are there to beautify your property. I believe they'll cover up to 35% of the cost of improving exterior front facades and yards, up to a maximum of $4,000 or $6,000 for corner lots. So if you hesitated bringing to the baby barn and getting the shovels and rakes out, now's your time. So take advantage of that opportunity. Much thanks to all the community efforts. I'll tell you that we work on the backs of our wards and our communities, and Ward 1 is no different than out east, where Councillor Strobridge and Councillor Merrithew had the opportunity to help clean up theirs. But thank you to those residents. It's not me. I get the privilege to go out there and help work alongside some of the best people in St. John, and sometimes probably, you know, drink more coffee than I am actually doing work. But the conversation is as fun as the effect that you have to look at the property after you've been there and clean it up. And after the floods, there was lots of interesting stuff to pick up, stuff that I didn't realize could float that far on shore. Was there. It's gone now. We're beach ready, and can't wait to hit summer 2019 in St. John. So thank you to all those groups that make that happen.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Hickey, let me see if I can... There you go.
It works for the first time. That's great. Thank you very much, Your Worship. It's an absolute honor to be able to address Council for the first time. I'm incredibly honored and excited to get started to the work. I know the Mayor mentioned today during my swearing in that it's like jumping onto a rowing team while they're halfway through the race, and I very much intend to grab an oar and to keep up. I didn't want to take this time to talk about myself, though. I wanted to recognize a community leader, a friend and a role model of mine, but actually someone I'm lucky enough to call a neighbor as well. Ralph Thomas, who is the president of Pruden St. John. He is one of the founding members of the New Brunswick Black History Society. He was a prominent amateur and professional boxer. I know he's both thrown and taken punches from several of my family members. And I wanted to congratulate him on his honorary PhD in letters from the University of New Brunswick. I'm quite honored to both call him a friend and a neighbor, so thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, just a couple quick ones. I guess Friday, just wanted to say thank you to all the community members, including, I don't want to leave anyone out, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Hickey, I don't want to leave anyone out, but if I have, it was the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, so we had a Rainbow Peace March. Did I miss anyone from council that was there with us, councillors? I don't think so. Anyway, many hundreds of people that came out to send a very strong, the way I communicated it on my social media feed, that love is love in St. John, and that we are an inclusive community. And I want to thank everyone for coming out for that. On Saturday, again, councillors Norton, Hickey, and Mackenzie, and I don't think I forgot anybody. We celebrated our birthday, Loyalist Day, which is also the city's birthday, 234 years old. And as one young grade 3 student said to me recently, Mayor, you don't look that old, or you don't look that bad for being that old, I think they said to me. So it was a small but mighty crowd out for that. I want to thank the incredibly passionate United Empire Loyalist Association of Canada who come out and do a great job. And then I had a tremendous highlight as mayor. So we are the only city granted within our charter the ability to have a 21 gun salute. So we went down at noon and we had the salute, and the commanding officer came over to me and said, Mayor, are you ready? And I said, ready for what? And he said, you're going to fire the first gun, so come with me. So off we went, and I got to fire the first gun. So that was quite a highlight. So we scared a lot of seagulls that day. Also went off to Fredericton to work with my Tri-City Mayor partners, and we went to the downtown of Atlantic Canada conference, but downtown uptown conference. And it was a really great conversation with leaders from the business improvement areas from all over Atlantic Canada to talk about the importance of strong urban cores. And I just want to thank them for inviting us. And Minister Carr also attended with us as well. So thank you to the Minister for attending that important discussion. Last one, two quick ones left. It was an immense pleasure to welcome the unstoppable Tracy Schmidt. So anyone that went to the Shining Horizons fundraiser last week would have met Tracy and heard from her. I wasn't able to attend, so I was able to spend about a half an hour with the unstoppable Tracy. Tracy's an amazing motivational speaker who was in St. John for the Shining Horizons Gala. Oprah Magazine shared her story as a Quest for the Gold World Cup sailor who climbed the Himalayan mountains, captained a 110-foot tall ship, won a para-skiing bronze, and is incredibly funny too. Did I mention she was born a 4-way amputee? As an award-winning leader in business and in sport, she's now a motivational speaker, honored humanitarian, authority advocate, and a decorated athlete. And we really thank Tracy for coming. Her energy, I don't know how to describe it, just absolutely incredible. And if you want someone that personifies, don't let anyone ever tell you can't do something, it was Unstoppable Tracy. So just Google her if you want to have a little look. And just to build on lastly, I really want to thank all of what I'm calling the green leadership champions for taking on the challenge. So not only at the organized cleanups, but I know if you're noticing, Council, on an ongoing basis, people are just posting, hey, I went over here and I saw some garbage and I pulled out 6 bags worth. I went over here and I saw some stuff that wasn't tidy and I tidied it all up. And I really just want to thank citizens for taking on the Green Challenge, whether it's organized events or not, really caring about their city, and we can't do it alone. So thank you for that. Okay, thanks. Common Clerk, if you hit your button for me. Next item.
Your Worship, we have two proclamations. 7.1 on your agenda is Emergency Medical Services Week, May 26th to June 1st.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So, whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, critical care flight nurses, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Don Darling of St. John, do hereby proclaim the week of May the 26th to June the 1st, 2019, Emergency Medical Services Week in the City of St. John. Okay, thank you. Next item.
7.2 is a proclamation for Disability Awareness Week, May 26th to June 1st.
Okay, thank you. And just to the members of the public and council, the kickoff for Disability Awareness Week is this Sunday. And I want to say it's 10 o'clock. I believe it is 10 o'clock. And that's going to be happening at Key Industries in the parking lot beside Key Industries. And when you're done, you can take in the Queen Square Market. So whereas the municipality of St. John is committed to assisting citizens with disabilities to participate fully in our community, and whereas many persons living with disabilities face barriers in the areas of employment, access to information, transportation, housing, education, recreation, and other disability-related supports, and whereas we believe that most citizens with disabilities should have the chance to access disability-related supports to improve their opportunities in New Brunswick, and whereas we support the theme Better Together. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Don Darling of St. John, do hereby proclaim the week of May the 26th to June 1st, 2019 as Disability Awareness Week in recognition of persons with disabilities and their role in our community. Okay, thank you. Next item.
Your Worship, item 12.1 on the agenda is a staff report, Continuous Improvement Initiatives Update, St. John Night Market presentation.
Okay, I'm going to have Commissioner Kevin Fudge please introduce first, and then Commissioner, let me find you on the list. There you go.
Thank you. Through your worship, I'm pleased to introduce our Deputy Commissioner of Administrative Services, Mr. Ian Fogan, who's going to provide council an update on the plans underway for the city market to host a weekly night market throughout late spring and summer on South Market Street.
Thank you, Commissioner. And through your worship, normally I get to present such exciting things as insurance and procurement and fleet, but you know, this is a little bit, this is a fun one. So I'm pleased to be here. And I should say as well, in the crowd here, Andrew McDonald is our, we brought him on to help with our night market. So he's here and he's done a tremendous job. We've done a lot of work in a short period of time. We also have had help from David Kirkpatrick, our city market manager, market staff. Actually, even our former market manager is here as well in the crowd. But we have carpentry shop, our welding shop, city market maintenance staff, facilities management, and corporate communications. It's been a broad team, but everybody's been really supportive of us getting going. So this was originally, the Neighborhood Action Team was looking for places to animate and to bring people together. And so this idea brought forward through Uptown St. John and through our city manager who gave us the go-ahead and the support we needed really to get this done. And of course, council, you've been very supportive so far as well. So we're looking at having a night market every Thursday, starting May 30th through the summer, through to the end of September at least. This is our logo, which we've designed. Actually, it was designed by one of our city market tenants, Kevin Gogan. So hopefully you'll be seeing this around. And it was a nice way to have a current tenant get involved and helping us develop this. I think he did a great job. this is a little bit of our site plan about where we're going to be holding this. It's on South Market Street. We'll be having this area will be used for performances. This is also an ideal location when we came to think about it. This is a part of the city market property itself, so it builds off the city market. It's also easier to close off to vehicle traffic, given that as part of the property. It's not actually a street. Also, this area is going to help us create the right ambiance, I think, and through lighting and art installations that we'll have there. I think it's going to evolve over the summertime as well. And you might see something different on the first night than you'll see in the month of July, and then you'll see in August. So we're hoping to keep it fresh and changing throughout the summer. So we're calling it an elevated farmers market in that we plan to provide some things such as tents to help control the aesthetics so they all look calm and pleasing to the eye. We'll be providing lighting. You see some string lighting here. And this year I think we'll be doing something like that. Hopefully in the future years we might do something a little different, a little more exciting. And it may change, like I said, as the summer goes on. We're also going to be capturing the transition from this from as you can see in June, it will be probably still pretty bright at 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. But as we go on through the year or through the summer, obviously we'll get darker. And even in the nights itself, we'll be transitioned probably from more of a family event to more of an adult orientated event. So what are we looking to do? We're looking to have a mix of vendors. We're really trying to keep it quite eclectic. We are going to focus on local. We hope to have some exciting new products that maybe you haven't seen in farmers markets before. And we also plan on transitioning products throughout the season. So you won't see the same vendors. You won't even see the same products. Obviously, you'll probably see less produce to begin, but as our harvest gets closer, you'll end up seeing more of that throughout the summer. And I can say it's not just your city staff. We're working very closely with Uptown St. John and Discover St. John. They've been key partners in this. Uptown has been very supportive, offering lots of help in organizing and people. Discover has been they're excellent marketers, and they can do it far better than either I or Andrew could. So it's good to have somebody who knows what they're doing and those kind of things. Also, I should also say, as far as partners too, we also have all our neighbors on King Street. They own the backs of the buildings. We only own the city market itself in the street, but all those building owners in the backs of the streets are also very cooperative and very supportive. So we should recognize those people as well. So we're looking to have a community tent involved. So we plan on offering a tent for weekly community groups or organizations. They can use it for promotion or advertising. And part of this, we plan to offer it as a youth table to encourage perhaps younger folks to take part. We're currently looking for students who have done entrepreneur programs or classes, and maybe they want to sell products, that type of thing. So I think it will evolve, but I think it'll be exciting to have youth take part in that as well. We're also excited to that the area will be licensed, the entire area that we're looking to block off for the market. So we'll be able to have people walk around with their families and enjoy something to drink while they're doing that. Picaroons will also be including what they call buddy taps. So they'll not just their own brews, but also other partners' brews in there as well. And in the future, they may also be trying to source some local spirits and wines. So could be something for everybody, hopefully. And finally, entertainment. We're going to looking for a different mix of entertainment. So it's not just music. It's not just going to be a band or a singer or whatever. We may have DJs. We may have different themed nights. Anyway, we plan to create relationships with groups like Interaction Theater, maybe Fundy Fringe Festival, to hopefully showcase some of their products and also bring some excitement on different nights to the market. We also are planning our entertainment around things like Quality Block Party, and hope to offer up some different slots, different themes throughout the year. And I'll just end with our logo again. I'm impressed with this logo, so I'm going to leave it up there. And will we have any questions that I can answer?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fogan. Deputy Mayor.
Well, thank you. Oh, I think it's a great idea. You didn't say the times, Ian. You said May 30th. When does it start? 7 o'clock, 5?
It starts at 6. So
6
the
o'clock?
prop market itself will be closing down at 6, and this one will kick off right at the same
So
time.
then it goes 6 to what?
6 to 10.
To 10? Just
We'll-
so
we'll
the
call it
public
that.
will know.
Yeah, we are going to leave the closing time a little bit open in that if there's still people there, still vendors still want to be there, people still want to be there, we'll let it go on a little longer. And again, if it's depending on if it's a cold, wet night and there's not that many people there and they want to close up early, we'll do that too.
So is there a fee for the vendors? Like, and what is that fee? Or does it depend how much space you want?
Yes, there is a fee, and it does depend on the amenities that they require. So there's a different fee if you want a tent or not a tent, if you need power, those kind of different considerations.
So can tenants from our city market, if they wish, they could just move out to the open market? Or if not, they don't have to, there's no obligation
Yes.
to the vendors in the market?
That's completely correct. Yeah, we actually gave the tenants in our existing market the first right to come out and do that.
Okay, and then, so when you sign up, do you have to, if you're a vendor, do you have to sign up for a certain number of weeks or months? Or are you going on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, no, we'll be going on a week to week. Although there will be some, they might have a vendor there who's there all throughout the entire season. But we already know there are some that are busy other places and they only want to be there 4 or 5 nights, and they've picked those out. We have others that will want to maybe sell towards the end of the year. Maybe they're more produce related, but when we have quite a few right now that want to be there on the opening night. So it's a bit of a project to manage as
It'd
well.
be kind of exciting, but I do have to ask the question, so do we have a budget for this? Like, I mean, if you're going to charge the vendor, so it might be okay, it might not be any cost, but it might end up the city has to pay, especially if we're doing entertainment. So is there a budget or a department that's going to pick this up?
Yeah, all our costs are being managed within our current city market budget, and we do have some support as well from Uptown St. John. They've also offered some budget help as well.
So the vendors in the market then are sort of paying to put this outside market on?
Yeah, I guess the current tenants of the market. So the market itself is funded by rent and also city subsidy.
Mhm.
So it's
So the money comes out of that then?
right. Yeah, our existing city market budget. Yep, operating budget.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy. Councillor Strobridge.
The deputy got a lot of my questions because I wanted clarification on the start times, and it's only on Thursday nights, right?
Thursday nights, yes.
Starting May 30th until what, September?
Yeah, the end of September, yeah.
The end of September.
Yeah.
So where does somebody go to get that information from?
So we have an email set up right now, nightmarket@stjohn.ca.
Okay.
Or if they can get a hold of, through our current city market, they can get a hold of David and we'll get them in touch with Andrew. So either.
And that information is on the city website?
We have it on the city website. There's also a city market itself also has a Facebook page and has its own dedicated information, but yep.
Well, I think this is wonderful. I'm excited. I can't wait. You'll see me there.
Exactly. Wonderful. With your own booth, Councillor, or just you? Thank you.
No.
Can you sing? Okay. Thank you. Councillor Sullivan.
Thanks, Your Worship. Excited by the youth component. At my school, they just ran their entrepreneurship market last week, and I can think of a dozen kids who have some great stuff going on who could be interested. So no fee for the youth tent, and the contact is nightmarket@stjohn.ca, or is there another one? That's it.
That's through Your Worship. That's it, yes.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norton.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Great job to the team. St. John's becoming quite the market community, if you will. So, I remember a time when Fredericton had the Fredericton Boys Farmers Market, but St. John's certainly got a number on our list. Whether it's Queen Square Farmers Market, this nighttime market, whether it's the city market, there's a market available for any day, any time of the week. So I think we've covered our bases. So hats off to the team. This continues to build upon St. John being the urban center in New Brunswick. Whether you go to Fredericton or Moncton, there's no urban center that has the vibrancy and feel that St. John does, and this continues to add that and make that the case. So good job, and thanks to the city manager for throwing his support behind that. So hats off to the team. Good job.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to also say thank you so much. I think it's a great initiative. In all the years that I've lived in St. John, I feel like the market's kind of been flying under the radar, and it's a great piece of infrastructure for the city, and it just hasn't been profiled, I guess, all over those years. So it's great to see the money that we've put in as far as the refurbishment for it, the money from the feds that we've gotten, and now this is, it's just, so it's all good. So I'm very pleased, and of course I'll be supporting it. I'm there every day anyway, but thanks so much, really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, this is a terrific initiative. Thanks for bringing it forward. And to our partners, Uptown St. John and Discover St. John, I'd definitely be supporting it. And I guess a couple of quick questions. Most of mine have been answered, but so you still have available times for vendors to, you want to fill those up so they know who to get a hold of?
Yes, Your Worship. Yes, we do. Yep, sorry.
And the dates. And I was going to ask about, like, you know, it's a family event, so I mean, there would be nearby washroom facilities. Now, if the market's closed, those won't be available, but there will be, like, in Brunswick Square and stuff, right?
Yeah, through Your Worship. There is some washrooms in Brunswick Square, but we'll actually have washrooms on site. We'll bring it in. Yep.
Okay. All the parents, you got it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so thanks very much, Mr. Fogan. It's great. I hope the vendors in the market are very pleased. You know, they've been asking for new and innovative and, you know, marketing opportunities. So wonderful. Just a couple of quick comments. One is on your slide, you sort of answered it, but just you know, from a cultural diversity component, just love to see you reach out to St. John Newcomers, YMCA Connection, you know, Newcomers Connection. There's some incredibly entrepreneurial newcomers as well in our community, just to make sure that opportunity. Really love the entertainment component. Councillor Sullivan talked about the youth. I'll tell you, I attended the Junior Achievement Awards Gala a few months back. I mean, just unbelievable organization. So I'd really encourage you to reach out to Junior Achievement and you know, and get them engaged as well, because this is exactly what they want their young entrepreneurs to be doing. The night at the gala, the young lady at our table won, I think, 12 or 13 awards that one night. So pretty impressive young leaders there. Just love the innovative ideas, and again, I think other councillors talked about it. Just continues to contribute to the fabric of the quality of life here. You know, just hanging out in the market with the cool lights and sipping a fresh made coffee and having something to eat, or listening to some great music. I mean, just way to go, like home run. So thanks very much. Look forward to the first one. Okay, thank you. Is that a receive and file? Oh. Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by the deputy. Thank you. All those in favor? Anyone contrary minded? Not seeing any. Thank you. Next item.
Your Worship, item 12.2 on your agenda is staff report with respect to letter to provincial government regarding the renewal of AIM Recycling's operating license.
Okay, and I'm going to have Ms. Hamilton speak to that. Thank you.
Yes, Your Worship, and members and council, as per the report in your package, this item addresses continued concerns with respect to the American Iron and Metal Recycling Facility located on the port's west side and the compliance with its provincial operating license. And these concerns include community, public safety, and environmental concerns related to the operations. As the deadline for its operating license approaches, June 1st of this year, staff are recommending that council approve correspondence to formally relay these concerns to the Provincial Department of Environment and Local Government on behalf of the city. And the correspondence in your package highlights 5 key points that I would summarize for council. Number 1, concern regarding the compatibility of the metal shredding component of the AIM recycling operation, given its location on our city's inner harbor waterfront in proximity to growing urban neighborhoods, and the need for measures to be implemented to mitigate and monitor socioeconomic impacts of the operations on these neighborhoods. 2, that the renewal of the license be contingent upon adherence to new operating and inspection conditions designed to mitigate explosion events, including more robust monitoring of incoming scrap materials. 3, with respect to the enhanced environmental monitoring activities that are currently taking place, it is our recommendation that the province should undertake a full and independent environmental audit of AIM's compliance with their interim permit to operate before considering an extension or permanent renewal. We would also request that the outcomes from this monitoring be made available publicly to the community. And 4, as requested by the province, the St. John Fire Department, and the chief is here tonight if there are questions on this, is preparing to move forward with a risk assessment of the AIM facility and operations. This risk assessment will focus on the public safety and community impacts associated with the facility and measures to mitigate these impacts to an acceptable level. In our view, this work needs to be completed and shared with the Port Authority and the community before the AIM license to operate is permanently renewed. And finally, we appreciate the province's ongoing cooperation on this file and their commitment that the city and the community be offered a mechanism to provide input into the operating license renewal. As part of this process, the city requests that the province ensure ongoing community engagement and reporting to improve community relations and transparency regarding the AIM operations. And we certainly appreciate the ongoing dialogue that we've been participating with the St. John Port Authority and the operators of the AIM facility. Tonight, we are requesting that Council approve the recommended letter attached to your report to be sent to the New Brunswick Department of Environment and Local Government, recognizing, of course, the fact that the City of St. John has no land use planning or environmental oversight authority of this facility, given its location on federal port lands. As a result, we will rely on the province of New Brunswick and the St. John Port Authority to protect the interests of citizens and residents while optimizing the economic benefits for the community.
Okay, moved by Councillor Reardon and seconded by Councillor Merrithew. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner. And comments, questions, Deputy Mayor?
Well, just the letter's very good, but I'd like to add something in there. The letter should indicate, if this is passed by council tonight, that this was brought up to council and was, you need, I think you need the support of the council in there. I mean, it's saying the city, but it doesn't say that it was a council resolution. And I think when it's going to the province, that would give it more weight, more support. That would just be what I would recommend that it should be in there, because I've read through the letter and there's nowhere in there it says that it was discussed at council and that, you know, it was recommended by council. So I just, that's my own feeling.
Okay.
The other thing is, and I wasn't here when this facility went in, but did the city, and I understand, you know, I know that the city doesn't have any authority over the land, but did the city at any time at that time when it started in St. John, did the city give it support? Like, did we involve? I think St. John Energy was involved. I'd just like to either put in the letter so that, because I don't want someone to come back and say, well, in whatever year it was, 2010, you approved it or you supported it. So we should have in there that, yes, you might have supported changing the power situation or whatever, but I just think that should be in there.
Ms. Hamilton could you make a comment on that?
Sure, certainly, through you to the Deputy Mayor. The original approval, my understanding, was granted by the province following an environmental impact assessment process, I believe, in 2010. And the city, while we don't have a formal role in the approval process, did participate through the former Commissioner of Planning on the technical review committee as part of the environmental assessment process, and did relay concerns regarding the location and the land use community impacts that were potential at that time. They were relayed through our participation on the technical review committee, and many of those recommendations were actually included in the license for operate that exists today. So there was a role, but the city did not take a formal position of support on the project because of our limited jurisdiction in the matter.
So I don't know if you want to put anything that in on that, just to clarify what the city did. I just think it gives the letter more weight, especially with the province, and I would really think that if you have in there that, you know, we discussed this at council, that gives you more support that the council was behind it.
Sure. What I'd suggest, Deputy, why don't we just go around and just hear some comments, and then we can come back and see if we want to add a comment at the end. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm fine with it going the way it is, but whatever. I really just want to thank staff for being proactive on this. I think it's so important to growth that we get this, at least have our opinion and our and how it's impacting St. John, where we have no jurisdiction. And I also want to thank Minister Carr because, you know, he has been great to work with so far on this. And you know, in bullet number, I think it's 3, it talks about the enhanced environmental monitoring that's going on. Well, that's all part of that process that we've been going through with all this. But, you know, industry, listen, industry is wonderful. It's the best you can get for any community. Industry is good for a community because it does bring jobs, but it needs to bring value to your community. And when you have an industry that sucks the life right out of your community, it's no good. It doesn't matter how many jobs it brings. So, you know, this needs to be dealt with. And for anyone, I mean, I'm the councillor of Ward 3, so I get the calls all the time. And they haven't stopped since I took this seat, so that's 7 years. And, you know, some people will say, well, you know, the explosions, they're just noise, you know, it's a working port, etc. But an explosion is like pain in your body. If you have pain going on, you can mask it with Tylenol or whatever, but there's something going on that needs to be fixed. And those explosions are an indicator that there's something going on that needs to be fixed over there. So definitely we need to look into all this. So I appreciate staff bringing it all forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Merrithew.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well said, Councillor Reardon. I also want to thank staff on this, Mrs. Hamilton and Chief Clifford, well-written report. This has all kind of cost to it, monetary and social as well, and I just don't think it's in the right place. The question I have to staff is the Port Authority also supportive of the letter, and or the MP Wayne?
City Manager, do you want to jump in on that one? Yep, City Manager.
Your Worship, to the Councillor, I can't comment on the Member of Parliament, but I can tell you that we are quite well aligned between ourselves and the Port Authority in terms of understanding the sensitivities and the importance of this to our community. And the Port Authority is aware that we are producing this letter and submitting it prior to license renewal.
They're aware of it, City Manager. Are they supportive of it?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I might ask that a copy be sent to the MP as well.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you kindly.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norton.
Thank you. I know it's port, it's federal, but just out of respect, we're going to send it to the MP. Then we send it to Southern Caucus as well, so they're aware of that. That would only be, I think that would only be prudent. So I've been on those exchanges where one knows and the other doesn't. So with that, Commissioner, through you, Your Worship, to Commissioner Hamilton. Do we know who's on the AIM Recycling St. John Community Liaison Committee that was struck? Who's represented on that now? I know that was an endeavor of theirs. In fact, they put out a public call. You're familiar with what I'm talking about, I'm assuming. Who's on? I see Councillor Merrithew saying we do, but no, sorry. Okay. Do we know who's on that?
Your Worship, I haven't been formally involved in those discussions. I do understand that there are representatives from the community that are participating. The city does not, as well as members of the provincial government, the city does not have, my understanding, a role to play or a position at that community liaison committee.
Okay.
It's primarily the operator with representatives from the province and the community included.
In the spirit of full disclosure here, I wanted to participate in that and had a letter. Thank you for your interest. With that being said, I'm not on that committee. It's important that we're at that table. Although I made an expression of interest and I'm not there, disappointed to learn that. The fact that this council or a member of this administration doesn't have a seat at the AIM Recycling St. John Community Liaison Committee is for me very discouraging. Whether it's a councillor and or one of our staff, whether it's a designate of the chief through you, Jacqueline, the fact that we don't, I'm not disappointed. I'm somewhat irritated by that we don't have a seat there. We get a seat there, and I don't know how we do it, but somehow we let them know, whether it's through this broadcast here or one way or the other, the fact that this municipality doesn't have a formal seat is disappointing. I understand that community representation, community voice is important. Those voices are around that table, and they've met that requirement. But somebody needs to be there representing this municipality. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor. City Manager, you want to jump in?
Your Worship, to the Councillor, the Community Liaison Committee met last Wednesday evening. The people who were there at that meeting were the site manager from AIM and their environmental manager. There were also reps from Public Health, Environment, and the Port Authority at that meeting. We were, for clarity, we were invited to participate. Due to calendar conflicts, we could not send a senior representative. We have committed to AIM that at subsequent meetings, we will have a senior staff representative at those community liaison committee meetings moving forward.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. You all set, Councillor? Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Just a couple of brief comments, and thank you again, staff, for your for staff's proactiveness on this. I appreciate the way the letter takes a balanced approach to this issue. I just had a quick question. Are there pre-existing, perhaps through the chief, are there pre-existing impact studies that were done on AIM back when it was initially approved?
Initially, we weren't consulted on the fire and EMO piece, wasn't consulted. We were provided a copy of an emergency response plan, but the copy of the plan they provided us did not do a risk assessment, so they didn't provide an impact assessment on what the facility would bring to our community.
Thank you. That's all for me. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, councillors. Just a couple of comments for me. Thanks. So I've been involved in this file for some time myself as well. And I'd say despite the fact that we really have no jurisdiction, we've been involved and engaged for some time. We've invested significant resources in this file, a lot of senior people. I've invested time, other council members have invested time, members of the community. I think of Gary McDonald, for example, Sam or Raven Blue and others have invested time, members of the port have invested time. I think that to the deputy's comments earlier, I'd say all the parties are very aware. So we can add, certainly if the mover and seconder would want to add a line to strengthen up, but we do need to send this letter off tonight or tomorrow. So we'd like to just finish it tonight. If we want to add a line in that it was discussed and endorsed by council, we could do that. But certainly, there's been significant dialogue with residents. The company, I've personally met with the owner of the company, along with the deputy city manager, the chief of fire, members of the port. We've met with the port, the province, the federal government. So there's been an awful lot of investment of time and energy. And I just, to sum up my comments, I guess I think what we're looking for is balance. This is not an anti-industry message. This is about balance. And I think the dialogue is better today. And in a lot of cases, actually, all we're asking for is for the approval to operate that's been in place for many years to actually just be met. The approval to operate has several areas that have not been met, period. And we're asking for some enhanced monitoring as well, because as we're trying to grow this community, we've got a slip down here that we can't take silt out of it and put it out in the ocean because it's got too much contaminants in it. So for this community of ours that we're going to hand to the next generation, we're asking for some enhanced monitoring, not just at AIM. We should be asking for that enhanced monitoring across the board. So there's been an awful lot of work done on this, and I think this letter is finds a nice balance. I think it's firm enough. And I think it's direct enough to say you should not grant a new approval until we have these pieces in place. And it would not. These pieces of the puzzle could have been in place prior to today, I think, but the compliance isn't there. And I would just lastly like to say to the current minister, he really has been responsive to Minister Carr. He's worked very well with us. He's consulted. So I think the province knows very well what the City of St. John's position is. And I want to thank Mr. McDonald and others. And this is about balance, folks, being able to grow and have a quality of life and have industry thrive at the same time, protect the environment, all the things that we've talked about in the letters tonight. So again, thanks to staff for all of their immense amount of work. Okay, so the mover and the seconder, are you okay with just a line? We'll leave it to staff to add a line that says this was discussed and endorsed at council?
Yes, it's signed by you. So.
Right. Okay, you're fine. So you had moved it, and Councillor Marathi, you had seconded. Are you okay with we'll leave that to staff to tweak that. Okay, thank you. On the question then, all those in favor? Okay, and anyone contrary-minded? Okay, it's unanimous vote of council. Thank you. Okay. Common Clerk, sorry, I keep turning your mic off. There you go.
Your Worship, item 12.3 on the agenda is the license agreement for Area 506 Festival on former Coast Guard property.
Is that Mr. Fogan? Mr. Fudge? Okay, moved and seconded. Thank you, Mr. Fudge. Let me get you a mic. Okay.
Through your worship, the item before you is a recommendation on behalf of the city to enter into a license agreement for use of the Coast Guard site for Area 506. If there's questions with respect to that license agreement, Mr. Fogan can answer any of those questions.
Okay, thank you. We do have a question. Councillor Casey.
Yeah, I just had a question about noise. Are there many residents around there? I don't want Councillor Hickey and Councillor Ritter to get lots of calls. About complaints about noise for the.
Through your worship, we do consider this is part of the entertainment district of the city, so it shouldn't be too different than what the neighborhood currently experiences through the bars and nightclubs that currently exist in the area.
Okay, that still hasn't stopped people from complaining, but.
So Mr. Fogan, I mean, maybe can you just so really what we're doing is we're moving the festival from Long Wharf, so across the water, it's a few thousand feet. It's going to be here. So I think in terms of the noise during the event, it's going to be very similar to last year.
Yeah, through your worship, it would be. It's also right across the market slip from the Market Square stage, which has events on those weekends as well. So it shouldn't be very different than what the Uptown currently experiences throughout the entire summer anyway. So it's very similar.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Marathi.
I hit that by mistake.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
I just quickly, I want to just mention how great of an idea, great of a proposal this was. I think it's a really good example of the synergy between, a board like Area 506 and the city acting proactively in terms of making sure that we're addressing the space issue. And I'm super excited to be able to walk down from Princess Street with and enjoy the weekend. I'm sure other councillors around the table and the community is pretty excited as well. So thank you.
Should mention one of the board members of the event is here as well. So, but Mr. Fogan can field questions as well. So, Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's a great location. I just wanted to, for the public's benefit, talk about the parking, that people are using that for parking now, and what's the plan for that?
Yeah, through Your Worship, that's a good question. There are two different groups that are using it for parking currently. The Delta through the province is using the provincial property, and they're still going to have some parking there. The Delta has also been involved in a key partner in helping this move forward. So they're in the province as well, so they're very much aware. Same with the Parking Commission. They've been consulted right from day one. And the port, I must say, have been very accommodating. And Terry Wagner, who's here, has really helped coordinate that as well with the port. But the port recognized that they were going to be busy this summer and Long Wharf, and so they're doing what they can to help accommodate the people the Parking Commission has down there, and they're going to take those parkers just a little further down Water Street.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say thanks. You know, I'm sure the organizers a few weeks back, when they got the news that there was going to be a bit of conflict with their original site, you know, I would have preferred maybe not to have that. I think we've just won. I feel like we've won the lottery. This is a marquee event. This is, if you're in New Brunswick, or frankly, if you're anywhere outside of New Brunswick, you should come to New Brunswick. You should come to St. John on the New Brunswick Day long weekend. Fourth year of the festival. It is absolutely incredible. You know, the bands, everyone's buzzing around town with the list of acts this year. We're going to have an extra night. I think the councillors have asked some good questions around noise. I think we need to send a broadcast out that this is going to be a fantastic economic opportunity, cultural opportunity for St. John. It's helping us put ourselves on the map. My understanding is about 13+% of the folks came from Halifax last year for the festival. And, you know, the last 2 years, the weather gods have been fantastic for us, right next to the Bay of Fundy. You know, this started in the minds of, you know, Ray Gracewood and Terry Wagner and many other board members. And 4 years later, it's a great example of people who just love this city coming together to build a marquee event where restaurants and bars and hotels and everyone are going to be, every Airbnb and every couch is going to be full here in the uptown area. And the fact that it's going to be right down at the doorstep here, I think it's a great beta test as well of the site until such time that we build something even bigger and greater on it. So I think through a bit of a challenge has turned into a great outcome, and I can't wait to be down there myself and celebrating with everybody on the New Brunswick Day long weekend. So thank you very much. Okay, on the question then, on the floor, excuse me, all those in favor? And one contrary minded? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Fogan and others, for the great work. Common Clerk, next item.
Your Worship, item 15.1 is a request from Forest Hills School with respect to an exchange program for support. There is a staff recommendation to deny the funding as the community grants budget for 2019 has been exhausted.
Staff recommendation.
Okay, moved by thank you. Moved by Councillor Norton and seconded by the deputy. Okay, thank you. On the question, all those in favor? Anyone contrary minded? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you. The motion's carried. And last item.
Your Worship, 17.1 is a recommendation from Committee of the Whole with respect to Safe Clean Drinking Water Program Consent Notice of Certification.
I'll move the recommendation.
And I believe there's conflict of interest.
Oh, excuse me. Yep. Sorry. Thank you. Councillor Norton, Councillor Hickey, and Solicitor. Yep. Sorry. Yes.
Okay, and I have the resolution for this, Your Worship, which I can read out.
Just bear for a second. Yep. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, please.
The resolution reads, resolved that is recommended by Committee of the Whole, having met on May 21st, 2019, that the City approve the proposed consent notice of certification order presented to Committee of the Whole in closed session at its meeting on May 21st, recognizing that the consent order of certification order requires the ratification of the court and will be made public once it receives court approval.
Okay, thank you. Moved by the deputy, seconded by Councillor Reardon. Okay, thank you. On the question, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone contrary minded? Not seeing any.
That's it.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Yeah, and we're going back in for a few minutes. Yep. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.